Today, I am going to show you why you are a genius at fixing your friend's life, but a disaster at fixing your own. Keep watching.
You ever notice how easy it is to see the perfect solution for a friend's problem? Like their career crisis or relationship drama seems so obvious. But when it's your own life, suddenly it's a total fog, right? Well, guess what? It's not just you. This is a real thing, a universal human puzzle with a pretty amazing backstory and some serious science to back it up. So let's get into it. And this idea, it's ancient. For centuries, people have known what this Chinese proverb says so perfectly. Perspective is everything. The person watching from the sidelines just sees the game more clearly than the person playing it. And what's cool is that modern psychology is now catching up and actually proving how true this is. So this is the big question we're going to tackle. We're going to unpack why our brains seem to have these two different modes. You've got the wise, objective sage you are for your friends, and then there's the confused, biased person you are for yourself. What's up with that? All right, to really understand this paradox, we've got to take a little trip back in time to meet its namesake, a king who is famous for his incredible wisdom, but infamous for his personal choices. So you've got this guy, King Solomon. Publicly, the man was a legend. People would travel from all over the world just to get his advice, and he'd hand out these brilliant, fair judgments. But in his own life? Oh, it was a totally different story. A complete mess. His extravagance, his poor decisions, they literally led to the ruin of his entire kingdom. Wise for everyone else, a fool for himself. And that is where we get the name for this whole thing, Solomon's paradox. It perfectly captures this weird glitch in our thinking, this asymmetry in our own wisdom. And the main thing to get here is, this isn't just some old story. It's a real, recognized psychological phenomenon. But, okay, it's a good story, but is it real? Like, can you actually measure it in a lab? Well, let's see what happened when scientists decided to put Solomon's paradox to the test. This was the big question for the researchers. They set up experiments to find out if we consistently think more clearly for other people. They really needed to know if this was a genuine cognitive bias that affects pretty much all of us. And bam, check this out. This is basically what they found. Every single time. When people had to reason about a problem, their scores for wise reasoning shot up when they were thinking about someone else's issue. The shorter bar? That's us, for ourselves. Just look at that gap. It's right there, clear as day. And to be absolutely sure about this, they didn't just rely on one study. Nope. They did what's called a meta-analysis, which is basically a study of studies. They mashed together all the data from 6 different experiments to get one super reliable answer. After crunching all the numbers, they landed on this: an effect size of D equals 0.317. Now, I know, that just looks like a random number. In science speak, it's considered a small effect. But, and this is a big but, it is an incredibly consistent effect. It shows up again and again across thousands of people. Think of it like a tiny but very real software bug in our brains. So what are they even measuring when they say wise reasoning? Well, it's not about being a genius or having a high IQ. It's much simpler. It's about being able to step back, consider different points of view, have a little humility, admit you might not have all the answers, and look for a compromise. And the wild part is, we are measurably worse at all of those things for ourselves. Okay, so we know the paradox is real. We've established that. But the bigger question is, why? Why does this happen? Well, now we get to the really fascinating part, the psychological chain reaction going on inside our heads. Right. This is the juicy part. What's the secret mechanism that just zaps our wisdom when it's our own skin in the game? The answer really comes down to a 1-2 punch of our feelings and our focus. Yeah, researchers have actually mapped out the whole pathway. It's just like a series of dominoes. It all starts with your mood, which then directly affects your mindset, and that, in turn, decides how wisely you can think. One thing just knocks over the next. The key piece of the puzzle here is a mindset called self-transcendence. It sounds super fancy, but all it really means is being able to step outside of your own ego for a second. It's that ability to just zoom out and see the whole board, the bigger picture, instead of just the one piece you're stuck on. And here is exactly how that chain reaction goes down. Step 1, you think about your personal problem. Step 2, instantly, your positive mood just tanks. Step 3, that drop in mood makes your whole world shrink. You lose that big picture ability, that self-transcendence, and you get trapped in your own head. And the final domino? Boom, your wise reasoning goes right out the window. But wait, there's a twist in the story. Turns out, this mental glitch doesn't hit everyone with the same force. So that begs the question, right? Who's more or less likely to fall into Solomon's trap? What the researchers found is pretty interesting. They saw a big difference based on your stage in life. For college students, that gap between wisdom for others and wisdom for self is huge. But for working adults, that gap starts to narrow. So why is that? Well, they think it's probably just life experience. The more messes you navigate, the better you get at navigating your own messes. Okay, so we know what it is, we know it's real, and we know why it happens. Now for the most important question of all, what in the world can we do about it? And the solution, it turns out, is pretty elegant. You basically have to hack the very mechanism that causes the problem. If getting trapped inside our own ego is the issue, then finding a way to get out of our own ego has to be the solution. This leads us to a science-backed technique called self-distancing. And it is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Instead of thinking, why am I so upset? You literally talk to yourself in the third person. Like, why is your name so upset? Just that tiny little shift is enough to create the psychological distance you need to keep your ego in check and hang on to that wise, big picture view. So, if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this simple idea. When you are too close to a problem, you just can't see it clearly. To find your own wisdom, you first have to find a little distance. And that leaves us with a final thought, a little challenge for you. The next time you're facing a dilemma and you feel totally and completely stuck, just pause for a second and ask yourself this one question. The advice you would give to your best friend is almost certainly the advice you need to hear yourself. Give it a shot. You might find out you're the wisest person you know.